Hi, this is Peter Godinez, your ambassador with K80Y TV, with a segment of Meet the Candidate. And we have a wonderful privilege of interviewing Jeff Gorell for U.S. Congress, the 26th District. And Jeff, this is a segment where we just want to ask you, what was your inspiration for actually getting in office? It sounded like you were kind of bred for the position, but tell us a little bit about how this all started.
Well, it's interesting because I was born just outside of Washington, D.C. in 1970, where my father worked in the Pentagon as a naval officer in a very political position, but actually had no interest in politics until many years later, when as a writer, I wanted to be a writer. I got involved in writing for my college newspaper and ended up writing stories about politics, and then was offered an internship as a writer in the Capitol, in the California State Capitol here in Sacramento. And I slowly began to see that there are opportunities in elective office, not every day sometimes, but certainly frequently, where you can make a difference in somebody's life. You really can. I worked, after college, I was offered a job and I began working in the governor's office, and I was in the constituent affairs unit for a while, and actually had the opportunity to help some constituents who had real problems and be able to solve those problems, and they were extraordinarily grateful, and it was a good feeling. It was a rewarding feeling. And so many years later, after being a DA, a deputy DA for Ventura County, after owning a small business, after serving in the Navy, where I continued to serve in the reserves, I found an opportunity to run for office when there was a seat open, and I took it and I won. So I was very thankful of that opportunity.
That's a good start, you say. So what were some of your passions within it, meaning that you got in office, and what were some of the topics that all of a sudden started growing inside you that you started to develop and start campaigning or running for?
Yeah. Well, being a deputy DA, I saw the dark side of human nature often, and but also the opportunity to stand up for victims, victims of crime, and to help people, and that led me to want to continue that trend as an elected representative, to make sure that we have the resources and the right people to keep our streets safe, to fight gangs, not just fight gangs, but to give kids an opportunity not to go into gangs and to stay in school, to keep our schools safe, to push back on truancy, to keep Ventura County the kind of place where we love it. This is one of the safest communities in the United States. We have a lot of great schools. There's a lot of room for improvement, but I felt like the next logical step from being a deputy DA was to continue to work on those public safety issues in the legislature. Also, near and dear to my heart is small business. Making sure that we always have an environment where people feel comfortable and confident to start a small business, to hire people, to grow a small company, whether it's a flower shop or a taco truck or a dry cleaner or their own trucking business, and to have that entrepreneurial spirit. When the entrepreneurial spirit goes away in the state of California is when our economy will deteriorate. So creating an environment in the state of California that supports that initiative, that entrepreneurialism.
And that's a good thing. And
so,
this campaign, obviously this is not a presidential election, but obviously there's some really hot topics, and you're involved in one of them. And obviously there's some topics that this is a nice thing about K80Y TV. There's no smoke and mirrors, there's no makeup, no Photoshop. So maybe this is truth be told. But just can you address some of the topics, and subject of women, and we talked earlier about your mom and what a good influence. So give us a little taste of what the truth is with Jeff Gorell.
Yeah, sure.
You take it.
Well, just taking a step back, the issues that I hear are most important to people in this community are the economy, making sure that we have a truly growing economy, particularly in the middle class sectors, where people on minimum wage jobs have an opportunity to work their way up and then can support a family on a middle class, middle wage job. Manufacturing, construction, energy, those are the kind of jobs where you can sustain a family, so people want the economy to come back, and they want somebody to focus on the economy as they're interested. They're also concerned about immigration. They're concerned about resolving immigration issues and being thoughtful, pragmatic leaders on that. They want the VA healthcare system to be fixed, and they're concerned about national security and the growing challenges we have in ISIS and things like that. But one of the issues that continues to develop this campaign and others is standing up for women and standing up for women's rights. And I'm proud to have done that over and over again throughout the years. First of all, as a DA, standing up for victims of crime. Often they were women and children, and standing up for victims in the courtroom and prosecuting people and keeping dangerous people out of our communities. The second is, as a military veteran who's been deployed to Afghanistan twice, I'm proud of the fact that I was in the third wave of U.S. and coalition forces going into Afghanistan to help liberate that country in many ways from the tyranny of the Taliban, who forbid girls from going to school and forbid women from holding jobs. So now in Afghanistan, women can go to school, kids can play baseball, women can hold jobs, all of those things, that those liberties and freedoms they'd never seen before. As a member of the legislature, I've stood up time and time again I co-authored, for example, the Violence Against Women Act in 2014. And it's too bad that there's a lot of negativity right now in the campaign. And it's unfortunate because it's really boilerplate messages that have worked in the past that are being regenerated and sent out of Washington, D.C. more than anything. They're not coming from local folks or even from my opponent in this race. They're coming out of Washington, D.C., and it's too bad because it's really plays upon and preys upon the cynicism and the concern that people have. And one example is that there's a commercial out now that focuses unfairly and in a misleading way on my vote record, and says that I didn't stand up for or support the Violence Against Women Act. I think it's important to note that in Washington, D.C., there were two bills going through. One's a Democrat bill, one's a Republican bill, and that there was a lot of acrimony and dysfunction and partisanship in Washington, D.C. And while the California State Legislature decided, and I don't know why they did, but decided that they were going to advance a bill that took a side in that debate in Washington, D.C., that partisan debate, and was going to support only the Democrat Violence Against Women Act and not the Republican. And I stood up on the floor of the Assembly and I said, it's not right. It's not right to pull the California legislature into the dysfunction and bipartisanship of Washington, D.C. by simply doing a resolution that's like a non-binding press release, essentially, taking a position of one bill over the other. We should just advance a bill that says we think Republicans and Democrats should work together to figure out one bill and move that to the president's desk. And in fact, so I abstained in 2013 on that effort to take sides, which I thought was misguided effort. And the very next year, I actually co-authored the bill. Right. I co-authored the bill to advance a resolution supporting Congress in general, not one bill or the other, or Democrats over Republicans or Republicans over Democrats, but just to say Congress should act on Violence Against Women Act and advance a bipartisan bill to the president's desk immediately. I was happy to co-author that, but because of the gimmickry and misleading nature of some of these boilerplate messages coming out of Washington, D.C., they're taking that one abstention and trying to make it into something that is a reflection upon my either support or lack of support for women, and it's absolutely absurd. And it's frankly offensive. It should be very disappointing to the people of Ventura County who know me, who know my record, have seen that not only do I have support of women throughout the community, but I have support of Democrat women throughout the community, including the Democrat nominee for my own position. Jackie Irwin endorsed me in 2010 and 2012 for re-election to the state assembly. Would a Democrat nominee for assembly to replace me have endorsed me over and over again if I had a record even closely resembling anti-women? She would not, nor would all of my endorsements now for Congress, like Dr. Irene Pinkert, Lupe Anguiano, and the list goes on of high-level leaders, Priscilla Herrera, and Francis Prince, a former mayor of Thousand Oaks, a lifelong Democrat. So many people stood up because they've seen that I've been a champion of women, championing of moving our community forward, starting small business, of supporting families and keeping our streets safe and our schools safe so kids have a great environment in which to learn. So I'm proud of my record. I've got strong support across the board, and I think that it's a record that is going to allow us to win.
You know, it's amazing. I love your calmness. I see your campaign not go negative. You're pushing forward. In our other interview, you told me a little about your mom, an empowered daughter, an empowered wife. You told me that you served under an empowered woman and you listened to her and you learned from her. I mean, Jeff, what am I missing here? I don't know. So, well, I think
there's folks out there that say that they need to distract the community from my record of service in the classroom, in the courtroom, in the combat zone, and in the California State Capitol as the second most bipartisan, second most moderate member of the California State Legislature, ranked by the Sunlight Foundation, a national nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. My interest is in just getting things done. And just being a normal person. How do these bills that come to me, how would my mother vote on this bill? How would my grandmother look at this issue? How do normal people in the community respond to this? Not politicians. And so I'm campaigning in a positive posture. Nothing negative will come out of my campaign office because if I can't win on a message of putting people before politics and running on my record of service in different areas and my vision for what America should be like 5-10 years from now, then I don't deserve to win. And I think I will, because I think a lot of people are resonating to this idea that we can move forward with a positive message set based upon experience and vision and leadership.
I could have said it better myself. I mean, any closing comments? They say in the debate, but
yeah, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to get my word out a little bit and to allow people to get to know me a little bit more. And I always welcome folks to come visit and call the office and ask questions and learn more. But certainly, last but not least, everyone should vote on November 4th. Regardless of who you vote for, remember to take your ballot and vote. And it's a right that not everyone in the world has, and it's important for us to exercise that right.
Well, one thing just wrapping up, I disagree with any candidate who uses fear as a platform, because fear is false evidence appearing to be real. And this was the truth. This was unfiltered, and I thank you so much for
Peter.
Just sharing a bit about your personal life, your background. This is Peter Godinez, your ambassador, with Jeff Gorell, U.S. Congress 26th District. And until next time, thank you.